Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we're gonna do a long and detailed video walkthrough of how to get started with Claude Code. I got a lot of students come to me and asking questions of how to leverage AI to basically build a full stack application. I think that's a great question. So in this video, we're gonna dive into that. Unfortunately, unfortunately, just like the conventional programming using Claude Code also take a little bit of experience, which is why I decided to make a long video. So it's going to be a long video, and we're going to walk into every single step of how I use Claude Code to put together a full stack application. This first version that we're going to do is going to be completely local, meaning that everything that you built, every database that you save, file that you save, it's all going to be local. The reason I do that is because some students are not cloud native, and I want to um, make it in a way that it is still possible to put together full stack application. Just instead of having a live web URL, you will probably have a local host endpoint. But the look and feel, the design, the framework, and how native it is when you go from one language to the other. All these things should be exactly the same. This also serves as a foundation video for you to get into Claude Code. Also serves as a foundation video for you to build a full stack application. The framework we're also going to be using is completely mobile adaptive, meaning that if you have idea, you say, hey, I want to build something really quick. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And then tomorrow you're like, okay, I'm going to go with iOS. No problem there. The framework we're building right here can easily be migrated from Android to web app to iOS or back and forth. I think this video is going to be extremely important for those of you who want to get into coding but don't have the bandwidth to spend 5 hours to memorize the JavaScript syntax or TypeScript syntax, and you want to take advantage of large language model. And if you are those people, then this is the right video for you. So with all that said, let's jump right in, and let me talk about the configuration. So let me share my screen. And on my screen, you're supposed to see two windows, right? On the left-hand side, there's a GitHub repo. On the right-hand side, there's a terminal. Depending on what system you're using, if you're on Windows, you would just use WSL. Um, if you're on MacBook, you can just use terminal directly. So you fire up your Claude Code, and then let me start from left-hand side. On right-hand side, you fire up your Claude Code, right? Connect with your API, connect with your subscription, whatever you want. You can pay for perfectly fine. I don't expect you to use a whole lot of token, but I do believe you need an account to be able to do this. On the left-hand side, okay, on the left-hand side, there's a repo I found here that is definitely helpful, and it can also allow you to think about uh, how Claude Code consumes instructions, right? I think that's going to be step number one is to get you past that understanding of what are considered skills, what are considered instructions for Claude Code to consume, for Claude Code to truly be at like the extent of doing things that you want. So it all comes down to this markdown file and how detailed that markdown file can be, and that's where we're gonna start, right? We're gonna have a goal. We're gonna try to figure out what we want to build, and then we're gonna write the markdown file. And then once we have the markdown file, everything else Cloud Code can take care of that, right? So that's the goal here, and that's what I want to start. And I found this repo on the left-hand side. I think for simplicity, you can probably start with like deep search or demos or document cleaner. These folders are relatively easy task. That does not take a whole lot of engineering to be able to figure that out. You can click in anything. It will just have a generic script. You'll have a skill, and then you'll be able to build tons of other things, right? And a skill, look like whatever it look like. It can be multi-language, as what's saying here, right? it's a list of commands that the human engineers used to do. Now that it's collected here, right? So think about this as the Stack Exchange, right? Stack Overflow, right? In the old days, when you want to do a data science project, what do? Right? You go to Stack Overflow, you find some Python syntax, right? You go to Kaggle, right? You find some Python notebook, and then you take that code, and then you kind of like edit it, and then update and do whatever it is you need to do to go from there, right? So this also kind of feels like that, right? So that's why I want to draw the analogy. I think most people here, if you're coding before, large language model take control, you probably spend a whole lot of time on Google, spend a whole lot of time on Stack Exchange, Stack Overflow. This is like the new Stack Exchange and new Stack Overflow. So this is what I will start with. Just be familiar with what is it that you're doing, right? And then to go from there. So I actually, for the sake of purity of this video, I'm actually gonna go completely from scratch. So it might be tedious, right? So tedious alert, it might be tedious, but it will help you get past all of the blocker, especially if this is the first time you're doing it, right? So um, probably gonna guess not a whole lot of students are gonna watch this entire video, but if you wanna, be experienced with using Claude Code, then this video is definitely for you. Um, okay, so on the left-hand side, I have some sort of a repo which I am going to build along the way, and I'm gonna build a couple of basic functionalities all packed into this video, complete in one shot, right? No editing, no cutting. And then this repo obviously is gonna be public, right? And I'm gonna release this to my students, to the internet, so everyone can use it and follow this video if you want to. Okay, great. Number one, I have this repo. Let's clone it. So let's clone it here, right? And step number one, let's just clone the repo. You can probably follow this command here. Let me just walk you through what it's doing. It's going to try to run the command, which basically is similar to this. And you can just say yes. In the beginning, when you're still trying to learn everything, don't just skip to yes always, right? Say yes, and then kind of like read the command a little bit, right? So you kind of get an idea. Okay, git clone, you're cloning a repo. That's all you need to know, right? Okay, the repository is cloned, it's empty. Great, that's what I wanted to start. So let's start with a docs folder, and inside docs folder, let's start with create folder. And here I want the following markdown file called system.md, right? This .markdown file should contain the following guideline. Okay, so now we're talking, right? Following guideline. What are we talking about, right? You want to build a web app, right? You want to build some sort of an app. You need to think about the hierarchy and design of what this app is doing, right? First of all, there's going to be front end, there's going to be back end, and then there's going to be, so maybe some sort of API flying around, right? So let's start simple. Let's start simple. Let's say we're building a login. Very simple login, right? User authentication, right? It's going to be a web page. User need to log in, right? That's a step number one. And we're doing this completely locally. Locally means that you're actually going to save some sort of database. And for simplicity, I know a lot of engineers probably gonna hate me for this, but for simplicity, I'm actually going to save it in Excel spreadsheet. So it is easy for new students, especially beginners, to open an Excel spreadsheet and then you say, boom, this user is registered. I can physically see that, right? Because if you use like a local database, you're probably gonna have to query it. And then people are like, oh, how do I query it, right? So that's like one more step to verify, the thing that you're actually trying to learn, right? So I'm using Excel spreadsheet just for simplicity, right? Obviously, for production base, you want to use some sort of actual database, right? Snow, DynamoDB, Google Cloud, right? Whatever, right? So here is just complete for simplicity. You can open up Excel spreadsheet, you can just see the data that's coming in, right? Okay, so let's do that. Let's say the following. So bullet point. Um, the Markdown file should be acting as a um, blueprint of the system that we are trying to build. Um, let's build a generic app that is general enough for most of the purposes out there. Let's say I actually don't know what you guys want to build, so I'm just gonna make something up. Let's say finance, right? And then I need some sort of data coming in, and I need to, maybe plot some plot, right? Just make things pretty. So the data coming in, you can of course pay for expensive API, but in this case, I know I have a Yahoo Finance API. I know I can use that API to leverage what is it that I can do. So there are like APIs here that it's just free, right? You can just run this code. I believe there's a code syntax here. Yeah, API. And then yeah, this kind of syntax. Great, right? So you know it's there, and then you can just hand that over to AI. AI will figure it out, right? You just need to know that's there, right? You don't need to memorize import Yahoo Finance, la 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 la. You don't need to memorize that. You just need to know that's there. Great. So let's save that there. Let's just leave that tab open. Let's see. So somewhere here, we're gonna have a backend. This contains backend services and let's use Fast API. Um, for example, the Fast API, presumably it's Python based. And let's use Yahoo Finance as an example. Okay, so take that. Um, say I found this website and it has some Python guidance for Yahoo Finance syntax. So you can refer to it, right? That's it. That's all you need to know. And now we can close this. Not important now. Um, okay, so that's backend. Maybe you can make it even more dynamic, right? Or you can search online the proper syntax as well. Great, that's backend. Okay, so I left a space here on purpose, right? So now that we know where the data is coming from, now we have front end, right? Front end. Let's make it a little bit more as complete as we can, but of course we can always refine it, right? So front end. What's front end? We are building a web app, right? We want the framework to be adaptable between Android and iOS. So you want to go mobile, fine. The migration is easy. You want to build a web app, fine. Migration is easy, right? So let's use React framework plus and some people might know this, some people might not, but that's okay. Vite CCS, something like that. Um, and then the main language, obviously, we can use TypeScript plus by CCS, something like that. That give you the framework that tells computer or tells, in this case, the computer's Claude Code, the framework that you should be drawing from, right? And then let's make the UI mobile adaptive. So the components can be adaptive to small screen size on mobile devices. Great. So that's front end, that's back end. And then now we need to, explain what the back end is doing, right? Um, how it's connected. Let me add a small component here. Maybe we need Nginx to establish the connection. And then let's add one more remark. I imagine front end to be one Docker container, and then backend remark. I'm guessing backend can be its own container. Great. Now we have front end, back end kind of orchestrated. And then now we need to think about what is it that goes on your app, right? So let's start with, so now let's say, let's start. Um, Now, let me give you some context of this template app that I want to build. Okay, so now it's the core context. For example, Go. Users want to search for stock chart, but don't have a good way to do it, right? You have to establish some sort of goal, right? Maybe this goal is already being done by other people. That's totally fine, right? It's still okay to have the same goal and that perhaps someone else has already tried it, right? That's not a crime to do that. So you have to start from somewhere, right? You have to start trying. So let's say I'm interested in finance. The first thing to do in finance is to get data. The first thing to get data is to get stock chart, right? That sounds straightforward, right? So in this example, I'm going to do that. In your example, let's say your students taking my class, and in your example, you might have interesting problems in other domain that may or may not be finance. That's okay. You want to have some sort of goal first. And once you have the goal, you ask yourself, hey, is this goal already being solved by other people? Is this goal already have an existing solution? And if yes, how are these solutions being done, right? You need to have something so that you can then find the competitors, right? If you don't have anything, it's just a blank. How are you gonna find competitors, right? You can't find competitors. The competitors means it's competing with something. So you have to have something first. So in this case, the something in my example is stock chart, right? As simple as that. Stock chart means you have to get data. Great. So let's talk about that. Data. Here, let's use Yahoo Finance API for data source, and we can plot whatever candlestick chart based on ticker user entered. Okay, so now we have that. Now you can say, okay, you have data source, you have a goal. Now you need to tell the computer what exactly is on the web app, right? So uh, let me tell you what is on the web app. Step number one. You know what? Let me just call it A. Bullet point A, the landing page should be cool looking and dark theme, and there is a login form. User can register, login, what else? That's it. Let's just say that's it. And item B is after user logs in, they can see um, a text box. Um, they need to enter ticker, assume they enter correctly. We will fact check later. So user has to enter correct ticker, and we will do a Yahoo Finance API search for them and grab the data. Then we plot the candlestick chart. Okay, so the landing page assumes you have the ability to save user authentication, right? Why? Because you need user to register for an account. Register for an account means, oh yeah, here's my username, here's my password. Then you have to save that somewhere, right? If you don't save that somewhere, how do you know next time when they log in, this is their username, this is their password, right? So that implies you have a database. The database can be local or production. In production, it's of course on the cloud, right? But here we're talking about a school project, so let's just do everything locally. Um, so maybe I need a different paragraph here. So this is A, data A, and then let's make sure this is aligned correctly. 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. B is for the user authentication. Let's use Fast API backend, and um, let's use Python pandas to save CSV locally in our directory here. This is just a school project, so I want to do everything locally, and let's not worry about cloud setup. Okay, so that's uh, Fast API, and then most students already know pandas, so well, you just use pandas, right? Keep things simple, but of course in production there are like different APIs that you have to call or that you have to build. But functionally, it behaves the same way to support the front end, right? So you need to really get down to this level of granularity before you can like physically truly build something. And I think user authentication is probably the easiest example that I can explain to you to explain how front end back end works. And if this is the first time you're doing it, just simply by writing this out yourself, is going to be extremely important. And here I'm writing this document live, and I'm gonna explain at the same time, which is why this video is gonna take a long time. Uh, but when you guys are doing it, right? Especially if your students taking my class, if you guys are doing it, then you don't need to write this all by yourself, right? I mean, that's why I have this markdown file that I'm gonna put online in this cookie cutter repository. You can just take this markdown file and go from there, right? So that's kind of like the goal here. So let's try to get there in this video. So what else? So we have a goal, we have our data listed. Now this is the web page we explain, right? There's a login page. After logging, you can check out stock ticker or a candlestick, right? So that's the framework of the page that we're trying to build. Um, Great. Okay, so let's say where are we? Okay, so that's my cursor. Let's say in the end, let's write a system markdown file first to have a clear picture of what this system is, how this system can be implemented. Give me a detailed walkthrough based on what I said above. Um, and then I think we can probably say say wait for me to reveal it first before you do the next step. And then last but not least, I found this prompt to be very helpful, right? In the end of whatever it is that you wrote, right? You say this, you say, ask me clarifying question if needed. And this will trigger the large language model, especially Claude Code, to kind of cover up all of the blind spots, if you will. Because I'm a person, right? When I write this giant paragraph that in front of you, I'm making certain assumptions here and there, right? And these assumptions may or may not be what's inside of the training data of Claude Code. So let's try our best to surface some of these blind spots, right? So that's what why I always type this sentence in the end. Um, Ask me clarifying questions if needed. And you just do that, right? That's all you need to do. You do this, Claude Code should be able to take care of the rest of it. Um, we need to have a markdown file first, and then you let it do. So here, oh yeah, let me grab API or whatever. Great. Do that, right? Fetch the internet, read the internet, so you understand how the API works. Blah 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 blah. It's gonna do that, right? Web search, great. It's trying to do some web search by itself. Awesome. Please do that, right? So I don't have to do that. Um, and then maybe you'll learn something, some whatever Python syntax from the web search. Great. Please do that, right? That will give you more information, not less. 100% do that. Yeah, what else? Let's see what else it's gonna do. Um, Once you read all these results, so here's 10 results, right? So once you read all these results, I think it's going to use those results as knowledge base and to try to enhance what exactly is that you're doing, right? So here it says, oh, I'm going to create this directory first. Make directory, that means create a directory, like you're literally creating a folder. So let's say yes, it's creating a folder. And then it's going to create a markdown file, right? Because that's what I tell it to do. So we'll wait for a little bit and then we'll see what it gives me. What I found interesting is these keywords, like for example, deciphering. I think it's perhaps associated with certain skills or certain tools in the backend with Claude Code. But unfortunately, Claude Code is behind a paywall, so I don't really know what tools are associated with deciphering. Now, for those of you who are very experienced with using Claude Code, if you know what that is, please let me know. I think this is going to be very helpful if we all know what these keywords are doing. Like, for example, if deciphering means you're looking up certain skills, uh, and maybe if there's a way that user can customize those skills, I think that would be really helpful for me to know that, right? So perhaps there are things that in this prompt that can be optimized, then great, then maybe I can optimize that. Great, so that's enough chit chat. Let's take a look at what Claude Code has give us. Um, Let's scroll up. So it gave us a giant markdown file, right? Great, giant markdown file is trying to create a file. The file is .markdown, .md, that means markdown file. As a blueprint, as a goal, it has a host machine. Host machine is basically my computer, right? And then there's a front end container, there's a back end container. They talk to each other with the fast API to provide a support of API endpoints. And then there's the Nginx reverse proxy to ensure the communication between front end and back end. And then there's a YAML file, right? So that's what I'm trying to say to you guys. You guys don't have to physically create all these files. It's certainly very helpful for you to know these files. But the first pass, right? The first pass, you don't have to spend 5 hours to figure out how to write these files. That's what AI is doing for you, right? So we have different layers, back and front end. I think these are all very helpful. Let me check my Docker container. For you guys, this is not gonna be a problem. For me, my Docker container is running a bunch of other stuff. So I don't think this will work because that endpoint is already taken. So I need to put it on a different port. So let's say this. Let me make a comment. So I'm gonna say yes first, and then I am going to um, tell it that I'm doing something else on my Docker, and hopefully it doesn't run into a conflict. Great. So one small thing to change. Currently, I have Docker desktop open, and I'm running other projects. So the port 4000, 8000, 3000 are all taken. You might need to consider using, like, for example, 4001, right? 8001, 3001, something like that. Can you update the Markdown file? Um, I'm doing this on purpose in front of you guys. I could have like edited the video and then, you know, turn off those Docker images that's up and running, and then just let this file to run. I chose not to do that because I want to show you guys that you can edit the configuration on the spot as you are creating this file, right? So great. So now you can say, fine, changing that to that, changing that to that. Great. So we say yes, and then this will be able to change it for you. And then you can probably commit to the GitHub repository. Um, so what's going to happen is we're going to say yes, and then we can uh, either commit to GitHub or you can review in the VS Code locally, something like that. So we're going to say yes. So that changed the 8,000 to, does it change to 8,001? Yeah, change to 8,001. Okay. Because it's trying to update this line, right? And then it needs to change to 8,001. And here in the this I believe is a YAML file, and also needs to change the port to 8001, so that when you build a Docker image, they know which location to listen to. So yes, I do want to make an edit there because this is uh, changing the port. So user visits this now, not the 3000, it's 3001. And then I'm gonna say yes. So it's gonna make this update. And again, it's gonna make this line by line. Once you get more experience with this procedure, you can probably just say yes to all of it. Boom, 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 yes to all of it. And then you'll just do it by yourself. You actually don't have to do anything. I'm doing it step by step because I want to try to explain what's going on as I'm doing it on the fly. So this is part of a learning curve, right? If I just keep hitting yes, you're not going to understand what's going on. Okay, so we have the update. We know what's going on, right? Now this is clear. Okay, so now I can open the VS Code. Can you open VS Code from root directory? And then hopefully it will open the VS Code. Hopefully it will allow me to see what's going on. And then we'll see. Oh, I was expecting to just do code dot, but sure, this works too. Great. So this is my VS Code that I just opened. The root directory is exactly this folder that we just created. Let's check out the system. The system looks like this, and you can probably zoom in. Boom, that's where the system is. Awesome. So we are all good. So that's the port. So I have a basic structure that I know it's gonna work. And then for those of you who want to take a look at this in a pretty way, you can look at this and kind of, take a scan of the system, really make sure that this is what you want. Um, if this is the first time you're doing it, you probably don't know what all these means, and that's okay, right? Um, you're gonna keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna run into some problems, and when you have problems, just ask, right? Just ask Claude Code what's going on. So this file is here. Let's leave this up and open so we can come back to this if we, change some things, right? But I can also update the GitHub repository, right? So this is what I'm going to do. So can you commit this to GitHub as well? So we're going to see if it's able to do that successfully. It might ask for API key or token. Sorry, I meant token, not API key. But and we'll see if this is successful. So it's gonna tell me, hey, I'm gonna run this command, git add, git commit. So I'm gonna say yes, and we're gonna see if there are errors. And it's gonna say git push. Great. We're gonna say yes, and we're gonna see if there's errors. Since this is the first time, so I can probably just refresh, and it should show us the same thing, right? There's like a create here, there's like markdown. It should show us the same thing, right? Great, there you go. So you don't really have to memorize these commands anymore, right? You can just say, hey, update this and push this to GitHub. You might want to still memorize the same language, just because these same language are how these AI models are trained, right? If you say update to GitHub, when the context window gets really long, it might not be able to get to that level of granularity. So me personally, I always recommend you to use a keyword. Keyword means add a file to GitHub. Please commit the changes, right? Please push to the um, GitHub online. Like use that kind of words just to really make sure that you're hitting on these commands correctly. Um, so we have a plan, right? That's what we just did. We have a plan. We put together a document. We spend a long time putting together this document. We have a plan. Great. So now we can probably go ahead and implement it, right? So let's go ahead and implement this plan. I'm guessing you will need a backend folder, a front end folder, and a deploy, let's call deployment folder. So please make this directory clean and the name of folders need to make sense. I will keep Docker desktop open. If you are done, please use Docker to um, to build the images to the correct port, and then use Docker Compose to deploy it so I can test it on local host. Now let's break this down a little bit, right? So number one, clean directory, right? That's one thing that I want, clean directory. Now, that being said, um, if you don't have a clean directory, you have a Python script in the same folder as a TypeScript, in the same folder as YAML file, in the same folder with a bunch of other stuff. Will the app be working? Well, if you wire everything correctly, technically speaking, it will work. But it will be very difficult for human eyes to understand which script you should be looking at, which script you should not be looking at. Because by the end of this, your directory will be like 50 files, and you're going to be like, oh no, I can't find things, right? That's not going to be good. So my recommendation is you say this in the very beginning. You take it slow in the very beginning. You make sure every folder is up to your own preference in the beginning so that you are clear what's going on, right? Great. So let's do that. And then that's going to be the first bullet point. We're going to call this a second bullet point. Um, and then let's say again, ask me clarifying questions if you need it. Okay, so I think we are at a good stopping point. Um, from here, if nothing goes wrong, the Claude Code will go ahead and implement the code changes. You'll create all the folders, write all the Python code for fast API, write all of the code for TypeScript to design a front end or whatever. It's going to put everything nice and easy in a repository. And then let me go to GitHub. Uh, the GitHub's here, right? After that, we're gonna push everything to GitHub, so hopefully you'll see more folders showing up here. But for now, we will just have our system. Um, and this system folder is here. Excuse me, the system markdown file is here, and you can review this as you go. It will create more folders here, so we're gonna give a minute. I'm gonna come back to this and verify that, right? My hands are here, right? I'm not creating this. Claude Code is creating it in the back end. Um, so I would say at this moment, you can probably, go grab yourself a cup of coffee, take a walk, come back. The first pass typically is the longest. Debugging could take longer, but the first pass usually is very long, because there are tons of stuff that you need to create, right? Folders, back end, front end, deployment. Each of the folders, they're like a bunch of scripts, right? So the first pass is usually very long, and first pass usually take a bit more patience. And that's why I want to make this video because when I'm first doing this, I felt like, hey, did I do this wrong? Is it too much for the Claude Code to handle? Is not enough information? You have all sorts of doubts in your head, especially this is the first time that you're doing this. So I want to make this video, and I make this video without editing this video, right? I'm recording this whole thing, um, without cutting it, to show you guys that how the what the process look like for entire end-to-end development. And I think that's going to be very important. It will help you get past um, a lot of roadblocks. It will help you uh, really get to the um, end game much faster, right? Rather than you have to spend 5 hours to learn TypeScript, you have to spend 5 hours to learn JavaScript or anything like that. Uh, I hope this process can help you get past that. And then hopefully you will have an easier way to build out your projects. And you build out your projects professionally, right? Because if you can do this and you can explain, what's going on, um, you will you will be able to convince your audience that you have the knowledge of a full stack developer, and you also have the knowledge to be cloud native, which is going to be very important. And um, depending on, you know, where everyone is, I think every student is a little bit different. And I'm making this video first and foremost for my students who are doing this the first time, right? Um, so uh, I think there are still some students with a mindset of I have to find a syntax to be able to do this. And I think that mindset is perhaps a little bit outdated because today's day and age, you don't really need to spend 5 hours to learn a syntax. And I really want to use this video to convince you guys that you don't have to do that. So hence, I'm trying to do this video just to really help you get past that. Because to learn a new language in 5 hours is extremely difficult. Even if you can do that, that's still extremely difficult to get to the level of speed and accuracy of what Claude Code is doing, right? Okay, so I think there are a couple of tasks that Claude Code has put together for itself. Um, it's kind of like following what I told it, what I tell the Claude Code, according to the plan. So let's continue, right? Making directory. Okay, so it's trying to create a new folder. This new folder is called backend. Great, awesome. Let's do it. Enter. It will create a folder. In that folder, it will basically start to create a bunch of code, right? Backend, front end, boom, boom, and then Docker Compose. Docker Compose, assuming that you have Docker Desktop. If this is the first time you're hearing this, you can Google it, Docker Desktop, and then you can just download, right? And just, if you're using Windows, click on that. If you're using MacBook, click on that, right? You just download something. That will be able to run a Docker image for you. And you do need to download that. You do need to have that software open. It's free. You should not need to pay for it. And then with that, it will be able to run these images that we're being talking about. Um, so I think that's pretty much it. What else can I tell you guys? In production, I think obviously this cannot be CSV file. This need to be an actual database, DynamoDB, MongoDB, you name it, right? Some sort of database. Snow, right? Snow is being pretty big. People use Snow, totally fine. It need to be some sort of database. It can also be RDS, right? Relational. I think in terms of it really depends on what you're doing. If you, let's say you have a web app or some sort of app that you're building with user login, right? And a user login has a bunch of key value pair, and then maybe the user is doing something on your platform, clicking on the button, clicking on a page, whatever. If those um, functionalities you're building also save more data, then obviously you want to have a different spreadsheet to do that, right? You can't have user data to be the same location as the same table as user authentication, right? That's going to mess everything up, right? That's going to make the schema very messy to manage. So, um, User authentication is user authentication, right? User login is user login. User data is user data. So um, I want you guys to think about that a little bit. And then if you don't have any idea how to do that, just ask the Claude Code. Claude Code will tell you. Okay, where are we? We're creating a YAML file. Okay, so that's the endpoint. Great, great. Okay, let's say yes. And then I think those endpoints should be able to work. If it doesn't work, we'll figure it out. Um, so what's next step? Docker Compose is ready. Now waiting for agents to finish writing front end and back end files. Great. Okay, so we have a Docker YAML file for Docker Compose. Awesome. And then we have front end, back end. Awesome. So that's upcoming. And then we can keep chit-chatting once it's doing that, just because I want this video to be a complete video in one go without cutting it. For you guys, obviously, grab a cup of coffee, do what you need to do. For me, I'm gonna keep covering and explaining this diagram. In some other cases, I've seen this to be 3 containers. It can actually be multi-containers. It can be 4, 5, 6, however you want, depending on your system design and depending on your scalability. Um, but bare minimum, I think 2 containers is probably um, will handle most of the cases. We'll handle most of the uh, um, smaller scale web app that you want to build. Front end, back end, I think it's totally fair. When you scale up to different features, to perhaps now you're selling a cloud, then obviously that's very different. But I think for web apps, or even just mobile apps, the front end, back end container, it's kind of like a good amount of setup, right? Sometimes there's like a third container here that you can kind of think about it as, like for example, uh, a, a chat completion API. You can probably put that in a third container, or you can leave it in here, depending on your setup. We'll talk about that when it comes to that when we cross that bridge. But for now, I think most of this is fine. Okay, so let's see what's happening. Sometimes it will scroll up because it created some files. Package, great. We need package. This looks like it's some of the React package here. Plotly, great. I know Plotly, it's for the interactivity of your chart that you are plotting. So makes sense that it's doing that. We're using React, makes sense. And then there goes the name. Great. So say yes, and boom, it's creating that file. What else? This is called TypeScript config. It's the configuration for TypeScript script. So check, say yes. Um, this is the for the node JSON file. Again, we're just gonna say yes. These are just all the helper scripts that goes inside of the front end, right? Front end has a framework, right? We're using Vite CCS, and that's the things that we need to support that. So say yes. And then at the moment, you don't really need to go into rabbit hole and say, oh, is that correct? Is that correct? Is that correct? Right? You don't really have to do that. Same goes with the files that you created. You don't have to go into rabbit hole. Not yet. There's gonna be time in the future, maybe when we're debugging or maybe when we're introducing new features, we're gonna have to dive into these rabbit holes. For the time being, you don't have to. For the time being, you need to see the idea physically in front of you. I think that's gonna be the most important step, right? Is to see the idea that's physically in front of you. I think we have all the files. Now it's trying to create a Docker file. Great. Let's do that. I see that it's using npm. So that stands for, I believe, the Node.js package management. So perfect. That's fine. And then this is the Docker ignore. Great. That's fine. I believe that's pretty much it for front end. This is the nginx file. No problem. Let's say yes. I think that's probably it for front end. A couple of source file, CCS, decoration, that's the Vite. And then what else? Plotly. Okay, so that's the Plotly file. Let's make sure we have that. And then what else? Finally, the main script. Main script is just a React DOM. The React DOM is just the main script. It's gonna render the main app. The main app is just the main HTML. That is a script that we saw before. Great. TypeScript. Awesome. All these should be in the front end folder. So front end folder, landing page. Okay, so it returns a simple HTML. These div objects, those are just HTML code. Uh, so it's going to render that as part of the page. And then, yeah, I think this is going pretty smoothly as what we talked about. Now this is a dashboard. Dashboard has stock data, and presumably this is, we're talking about the user has already logged in, right? Da 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 da, and then it returns this, which it looks like this place is allowing user to enter ticker. And then once you enter ticker, this triggers a JavaScript, and then it can probably submit, right? A submit button will probably trigger something else. And then there's error handling, right? I think all these are basic things that you need to have. It can get more complicated. You can also try to dive into a rabbit hole. You don't have to. Once again, you don't have to. So great. So now it's the second page. Oops, I think I scroll up too much. Now the second page, which is user authentication, right? It's a form. The form basically need to say, what does it say? So this is a returns. So what does it return? Oh, it's a login, right? Click the login. Error handling, right? Typing username, typing password, blah blah blah. So user authentication, very simple. Um, yeah. So that's pretty much what we've been talking about, right? You just keep doing this, right? You guys get the idea. You keep doing this. Claude Code will write all these for you, and you just keep doing it. Okay. So this is the second page, and it has a candlestick. Candlestick basically is a page that renders the data in a way that's a format that we want. Okay. So what's the data that you got? This is React using Plotly, right? Using Plotly.js. So that's a package, right? And then here's the data, here's the layout, you just plot it, right? Now, you can say you don't like this. Totally fine. No problem, right? If you don't like the color, you plot it, you saw it, you don't like the color, you can always come back to change it, right? But now you know, right? Now you know the candlestick chart is a TypeScript. It's one script physically inside your directory, right? So that's all you need to know for the time being, right? So at the moment, that's all you need to know. So let's keep going. Navigation bar. Great. Let's have that. It's funny. I actually did not say navigation bar. It kind of like assumed that. I think it probably said mobile adaption or something like adaptive to mobile device. It probably said that just for me. Okay, so now we have the come across this interesting thing that is API, right? API as a service, right? API as a service, and it's supported by the backend. Okay, now front end needs to have the function design so that when user click on something, something else will happen, right? So this TS stands for TypeScript. So this TypeScript script um, has all the functions laid out, right? For example, register, right? Register is a function. It's a post request. Post request basically means you are saving a piece of data from the front end into the back end, right? Post like you're posting something, right? So you're taking something and put it somewhere, right? That's posting. Um, so that's one request. This is logging. Logging is also a post request. We'll give something and take something back. We'll talk about other request types, but for now, post is all you need to know, right? In production, you need to be able to get request, post request, update, delete, all that fun stuff. Um, put, get, post, and delete for request. Okay, so say yes, and then we have we should have most of the front end ready to go. Um, I have not seen backend script yet, so I'm assuming we're getting there, right? Um, so according to our plan, here it pops out the decoration. This is just using the CSS. So we're gonna do that, and that gives us a color scheme, the look and feel, and basically just what you look like, what the app look like. And obviously we want to have that. I think now we're talking about backend, right? So once we have that, I was gonna go to my plan and then plan is backend. Great. Now we're talking the backend. So backend, we need to create a file. And the first file we create is requirements.txt. Requirements.txt means these are all the Python packages that we need to be able to pull this off, right? This is where the magic happens, right? You can't see it, right? You can't see it because that's on the front end. Front end is what you see. This stuff, you cannot see it, but you need these to exist so that the things you can see actually will do the things you want it to do. So we say yes, because all these packages look perfectly fine to me. Yahoo Finance will handle the data, Pandas just handle the table, so it saves the CSV, whatever. And also most students are familiar with Pandas, so they can read the code of Pandas, so that when I say save something in the data, you're not like lost, right? You can go on the GitHub repo and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, Docker file, backend needs a Docker file. That's awesome. Um, Docker ignore, so we're not like saving user data to the internet, right? Init, it's a package, right? It's a package. We'll need init. Same goes with routers. I think it's going very smoothly at this point. I have not seen a whole lot of bugs. These are all now is Python code. We're using fast API. Some people using MCP. When you're building Java using MCP, there's the MCP API. Exactly same thing. I don't want to say exactly same. People are probably gonna freak out. Let's just say they're similar. Right? They're good amount of common grounds. Great. So that's the app that stands up an endpoint. And you also have a health checkpoint that says yes, okay, right? So all those things are good to have. When humans are writing this, you may or may not have the health method designed in the end, right? It takes some experience to be able to do that. And that's why we use AI, right? AI will be able to give you that framework right in the beginning. And then what else? Models. Great, models. This is a pretty much just Python, the generic Python code. Most people can probably read this already. And again, right? If you tell me, hey, you spent 5 hours memorizing these syntax, does that really mean you're good at Python? Not really, right? There are other use cases to test out your Python programming ability. Mm, this does not consider one of those, right? But you need these to build that web app, right? You need these to build the app. So don't get don't have a huge hiccup here, right? That's not worth your time. You know what I'm saying? It all comes down to, you know, what's worth your time, what's not, right? So these things just outsource to AI. AI will write it out for you. Great. Now we're talking about something that probably most students are familiar with, Python code, import Yahoo Finance. Great, blah, blah, blah. And then, for the data, we want to plot out something. In order to plot out something, you want to append the data in a nice spreadsheet looking way, and then you return that records. Great, awesome. Makes sense to me. There's a little for loop there. If you're interested in doing that, you can read the code yourself. It's not worth your time. It's not worth my time to spend 5 hours to figure out a for loop. AI will do that for you. Um, Authentication. User authentication is probably in I'm gonna guess for most engineers, it's actually very tedious to do, right? Like you're gonna be sitting there for 5 hours and you're being like, oh, router dot post slash register, and then the function register username, blah blah blah. Hey, if you're gonna spend 5 hours doing this, good for you, right? Good for you. You have the time and energy, and you have the brain power. Awesome, good for you. I'd rather just do this, right? What's wrong doing this? If you memorize this, does that mean you're smart? Today's day and age, it no longer means that, right? If it's 20 years ago, no one knows programming, and you magically come to me and say, "Oh, you just do DEF and you can create this nice function." If it's 20 years ago, awesome, you're golden, right? If you can do that, you're golden. Today's day and age, mm, I personally recommend you just outsource this to a large language model to do it, right? Memorizing this is no longer valuable today's day in the world. So say yes. Um, and then I'm gonna guess that's like we're closing to the end, right? Oh, stock, get the data. Great. Um, yeah. Wrap it up in a fast API, then you're probably good to go. So say yes. And then what else do we need? What else do we need? Oh, write Docker compose. Okay, so write Docker compose. Now let me build and deploy. Okay, so now we have all the files. Before I say yes here, let's just take a quick pause. Let's go to the Visual Studio. Excuse me, let's go to VS Code. Let's just take a quick look at what's being created. So let me do this. I can probably close that. I don't need this anymore. And then let me take a quick look at what's being created. So we have a docs folder. That's where our plan is. We wrote the markdown file. It's the window I just closed, right? We wrote the markdown file. We have a plan. The plan is here, right? We just saw it. Now, what is created? We have front end, we have back end, and we have deployment. So front end, it's this kind of stuff, right? Their packages, right? Their framework, there's engines, config, connecting the dots, connecting the endpoints, specifically this one, backend. There's a index page, right? And then there's a source. Inside of a source, there are like a bunch of different functionalities. The type is the main programming language is TypeScript. This is TypeScript. Uh, that's kind of it. And the other thing are all in the component. When I say component, I'm talking about the things that you will see on your web app, right? The authentication. If you're gonna allow user to register account, well, that's what that thing is coming for, right? If you want a user to take a look at a stock chart, well, that's what that script is for, right? So they're all here. They're all here, right? So that's front end. Now back end. We talk about back end. Back end needs to have a bunch of Python script. Why Python? Because it's um, kind of like the general programming language that programmers have. Most students know Python these days, so you can go with Python. And then you can have a main function, and you can have a models. These models are not like the machine learning models. These are models that goes to support the backend service. And then I think a couple of helper functions here is user authentication, and then stock utils is just the function to get a stock chart. So, excuse me, stock chart data, right? This is going to return data in the end, return records. This is returning a data in the end. Great, that's all you need to know, right? That's all you need to know. And then the last thing but not least, deployment. Deployment is just a YAML file. The YAML file basically says, hey, we want to build something. This is the back end. This is the front end. And these are their names, right? This is their folder, and this is the port. That's it. That's what the Docker Compose says. Okay, so now we understood what is created. Now we can build the Docker images, right? And we're just going to use Docker Compose. So we're going to say yes. And then this is going to use deployment to build the Docker image. And then it's going to wire everything together. And there's going to be errors. So here, let's see what the error is. We can use Control O to expose the error. Did not complete successful fail to resolve this. I'm assuming it's some package. Maybe something to do with package. Um, yeah, I think something to do with package. It's okay. You see, it will just do an npm install, right? You never install it. How are you gonna build it, right? So let's say yes. So it will run Docker, excuse me, npm build, and then it will run the Docker compose. Okay. So npm install is to install things, and you run npm run build to build the image, and then you can do Docker compose. So I think that's what's missing, and it's trying to build something that doesn't exist, right? Okay, so let's give it a minute, and then let's see where are we. If everything goes right, I'm hoping there's some sort of web app that you can just go to your web browser here, and then hopefully you'll be able to see what we just talked about, right? Like there's like a user login form, and then there's like um, a stock chart after you log in, things like that. I'm hoping to get all of us there. Um, and then I'm looking at the time. It's coming up at about an hour that we have been doing this and recording this video nonstop, no cutting, no editing, right? So you can kind of see what are the thought process going behind the scene for me to do this. And I'm explaining and talking at the same time, so it takes up a lot of time. But when you guys are doing this, it will take less than an hour. I promise you that, right? Because you're not talking like I am. It sounds like we build the image. We build the image, right? Yeah, we build the image. So we're gonna say yes. The Docker PS is just to check if the images are built correctly, if they're like up and running, right? And then we're gonna run curl. Curl stands for client URL. It's trying to check the health status of the Docker image. So if it says okay, then Docker image is up and live, right? It's kind of like a small verification that we do have these images. That we're not like making things up at this point. Like we build these images from the code that we created. So that's what these things are doing. These health/health methods, it's checking that. Um, okay, so 200, it says okay, 200. So I'm gonna assume this works correctly. Awesome. So I believe I can bring up my Docker desktops just so you guys can see what's going on. This is my Docker desktop. As you can see, there's a back end, there's a front end, there's 8001, 3001, and that's what we're talking about, right? Localhost 3001. So that's the endpoint that we want to hit. So you don't need to open anything. You just go to your browser on your computer. You say localhost 3001. Great. Da, 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 da. That's it. That's what we're talking about, right? So now you have an app. Register, logging. I have not uh register. Well, obviously, you can't log in, right? So if you type in here, typing something here, you should not work, right? Because you've never registered. Um, so let's register, right? Whatever, like ABC 123, register. Request fail. So let's debug. Um, I tried to register, but I saw this error when I pressed register button on localhost 3001. Hit enter. Let large language model figure out for you, right? I kind of know what's going on, but you know what? Let's allow LLM an opportunity to figure this out for you. I think probably just some package or something in the backend that's not wired correctly. Okay, so this did not work with that. Let's add this package in the requirements file. Great. So we're gonna do that. Now that you add a package, what that means is you need to rebuild everything and redeploy it, right? So you say yes, it needs to run another Docker compose to rebuild the image, and then to basically redeploy the functionality, so that this function can work in the backend. So this is basically a compatibility issue. It's like one package installed at a certain version doesn't really work with another package installed at the other version. So the version conflict, right? So that's what's happening here. Is it is like can I like Google search 5 hours to figure out this doesn't work? Sure. I mean, you can. Is it worth your time? Not really, right? Because think about it. This will probably take you 5 hours to figure out, and all you're solving is just a logging. That's annoying, right? Does that prove that you're uh extremely experienced software engineer just because you know that these two packages are not compatible by Googling for 5 hours? Yes and no. Maybe yes, maybe no, right? But certainly it's not worth your time to do that, right? And that's what AI is for, right? That's what AI is for. People saw this, they're like freaking out. Oh, crap, I have to spend 5 hours Googling this. No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay, so let's keep going. Um, Rebuild with a new package version. Let's see if it's healthy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so Claude Code claim that the problem is fixed. Let's physically test it, right? Okay, so I'm gonna refresh. I'm gonna go to register. I'm gonna say ABC, password is ABC123. Register. Hey, there we go. Now we're logging. I don't have to save that. Whatever. Apple, right? AAPL, right? Search. Hey, there you go. So now we have something here. This is using Plotly. You don't like Plotly, use another package, right? You get my idea. You can log out, right? Hey, there you go. Awesome. Now you can say let's verify it. I believe we can go to our VS Code. And then where's there's backend here? Backend's here. The data. Data is here. Is user, right? User is ABC, right? This password is hashed, so it protects other people from seeing what that is, right? It's just a layer of security. But you guys get the idea, right? Data is here. Now you know there's a user, and the username is what? ABC. Very simple, right? So let's not touch that just in case we don't want to mess things up, right? And then you can check if you don't want to go here to click on this physically, you can come here and check it, right? And then you can keep going, right? Keep developing new features, things like that. Um, I can probably do another video to show you guys how to develop new features, but you guys already get the idea, right? I'm just gonna come here and um, basically update my plan and so on and so forth. Whatever plan I'm having, I'm probably just gonna keep updating files here, right? Create feature, whatever, da da da. I'm just gonna probably gonna do the same thing, exactly same thing as how I put this thing together. Okay, so now we know this is working. Now we know this local host has all these buttons and functionalities, so on and so forth. Let's commit the code to GitHub, right? So let's try to finish this. Okay, it worked. Let's commit to GitHub. This is what I want, right? Um, please create a readme.markdown file in the root directory to make it nice and clean to understand the directory structure and what the project is. Then we can, from the root directory, please commit all changes to GitHub. And I believe we're on the main branch because we only have one branch. Um, I assume we are on the main branch right now, which is good. Let's update to main directly. Typically, I try to make it clear, right? From root directory, run git add dot to ensure that we commit all changes. Then run git commit here. Make sure you add a detailed message to um to explain what we have done. Then run git push. Then wait for me to review on GitHub. Right? So the git add, git commit, git push, typically programmers will memorize that. You can memorize that. If you don't memorize that, you can also say, hey, update to GitHub. Sometimes I've seen in some scenarios, if you say, hey, update to GitHub, um, it might not understand what you're saying because you're not being very clear, right? The reason is because in production setting, there are different feature branch. And if you just say update to GitHub, and when you have multiple engineers working on the same directory, that could cause a lot of confusion. So typically, I try to make everything clear, just so there's no confusions. Wait, it's trying to create a README file, blah 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 blah. Awesome. Um, Great. So we're gonna say yes, it's going to physically write that file for me, and then it's gonna use git command to push everything to GitHub. Hopefully, after this is all done, this cookie cutter template on the left-hand side will be very clear, and you guys can do whatever it is you guys need to do. Um, and hopefully, oh, that's a very detailed commit message. Nice. So I know exactly what's happening. Um, and then that's pretty much it. What I want to show you in at least this video, I'm gonna make a couple of parts and to expand this for you guys. Hopefully, I can make as detailed as we can, as complicated as we can. Hopefully, we can cover all of the edge cases. And the end goal is if I can help you guys get past some of these blockers, then I consider this is a success, right? Hopefully this video is very helpful for you guys. Now before we finish, let's just verify on GitHub that all these things exist and I'm not making things up, right? Great, great. All these things are here. Awesome, awesome. All these things are here. Great, right? This is public information now, right? So you can use it. Yeah, the Docker docs are here, system markdowns here, and everything's clear. Awesome. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. There's more to come. Apologize, this is a long video. If you made it all the way here, then of course kudos to you. If not, that's okay. But at least the information is here, right? It's available if you need it. Thank you for watching. Take a break, and then yeah, I'm very excited to see all the different ideas, projects that people are building, whether if it's for analytics class or whether it's for capstone class. Hopefully this video is super helpful for all of you guys. Thank you, and I will see you in the next video.